I'm Nena, and I'm the founder of LBB, and I'm really excited that you guys are all here. Look, this evening is an open session. I don't do this very often, but we've just turned one. There's a lot that my business has accomplished so far, and I don't think I've had this sort of session where I've actually connected with my community to share some of what's inspired me and what's driven the madness that is me, and what's really caused the transition, right? Because when you read my story on the face of it, I studied engineering, I worked in an investment bank, and then I started a skincare brand. I mean, that sort of raises lots of questions. So I thought I would try and answer some of those today. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate that.
Okay. So let's take it from the beginning. Tell us a bit more about yourself, stuff that I might not necessarily have covered. Where are you from? You know, what interested you as a child, and what was your first job?
Yeah, so you guys, I think a lot of people in the audience are friends of mine. I was born in Lagos, and Lagos is the capital city of Nigeria. Coincidentally, today is actually our Independence Day, so I'm wearing my green stripes to represent. Happy Independence Day for anybody watching from Nigeria, or anywhere actually. So I think your question was, where am I? So that's where I'm from. My childhood, and the reason this is here is because it's really influenced and shaped how I am. So as a child, I was always really handy. I'm the oldest of 5 children, and 5 children who were very close in age. And so I sort of really enjoyed as a child building and putting things back together. And in my household, with all of us, things were always breaking. And to be honest, I think it was that, like, broken VCRs, it was probably that inspired me to study engineering, because I was good with electrical stuff. And I thought, okay, that's planted in my head, it's something to do. I think the other thing that probably sort of, when I think back to an early age, that really drove me was, as a child, I had an obsession with adventures. So I devoured the Enid Blyton books, like Famous Five, Mallory Towers. Some of you, I hope, recognize some of those titles. And eventually I got my own adventure when I moved to the UK, alone as a teenager in the late 90s.
Have you always been passionate about skincare? So let's talk about how the whole skincare, expertise and, passion started.
Yes, actually, that's a good one, because I heard the tail end of your question. My first job. So the first job I ever had when I moved to the UK, I moved to the UK to study. And my first job was at university. I went to university at Imperial in London, working at Boots. And I think that's where I got introduced to skincare that's where I became a fanatic. But actually, going back a bit further, as an African, the truth is that moisturizing was compulsory. I would get smacked if I didn't moisturize myself after a shower. So things like shea butter sort of evoke a really fond memory, because I had a great aunt who was always sending us shea butter. So I think that was probably where the seeds were sown for skincare. And then it evolved. So for many years, I really enjoyed and found it quite therapeutic, recreating the spa experience for myself. I would make home scrubs with sugar, essential oils, moisturizers, really taking the time, right, to pamper myself with face masks and really massaging them in. Candles were huge for me, whether I was at home or even when I was traveling, because I did that, like Wali, I think, said, I really enjoyed to travel, and candles were almost like my ritual. I put it down, it grounded me, and it became familiar. And so I think it was while I was doing all that experimenting, and I think a lot of people actually do this, right? I was doing all that experimenting in my kitchen that the seeds for LBB was sown. But the truth is, I didn't realize it at the time. So just going back, I don't know how much you picked up, but if we just go back in time. So I already said I'm Nigerian, and what's typical with Nigerian, African, and I think Asian communities is that there are expectations of what you're supposed to do as a grown-up. So I knew I had to go to university. There was no choice in that. I had to get into the right university. I had to get a job. And so deep down, I think I never even really allowed myself to indulge my creative side. Yeah, beyond probably how I dressed. I wear a lot of bright colors. So that was probably my creativity. Eventually, I got to a point in my life where I looked back and I had proven that I could do a lot of the things I was supposed to do. I graduated from Imperial. It's one of the most prestigious universities in the UK. I worked at some of the top financial institutions in the city. I sort of ticked off a lot of like career milestones, right? I could go on nice holidays, but still deep down, I knew that something was missing. But as I don't know how you guys feel. I hope this resonates with you. But as it goes, most of the time I was just too busy to indulge it, right? It sounds crazy. What else am I going to do? I had no idea. So I just continued with my life and working in, as a banker. And my inflection point actually came because I lost my father. He became ill. He had cancer. Bloody cancer, the same kind of cancer that got Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever. But anyway, it was at that point, and I was very close to my father. He was sort of like everything to me, right? Like my role model in every single way. And that broke me. Yep, like I was very hurt by that. And I think it was at that point that I basically just hit pause on everything. And I decided that I needed time to heal. I quit my job. I decided I was going to travel for a bit and spend some time with my family. And it wasn't until I allowed myself to sort of have that quiet time that I saw it. The question was, what inspired LBB?
Yeah.
Because I'd been doing all of this stuff anyway. So let's just go back to LBB. For those of you who don't know, is short for Life is Beautiful in Balance. And these days, whenever I'm in doubt, it's sort of like my North Star. I just slow down. So balance for me is really about staying connected, slowing down, really listening in and figuring out what I need in that moment. And I say I because for the longest time, I neglected myself. I worked in the city, and if you guys look up hardest, most stressful jobs in investment banking, mergers and acquisitions is like #1. Google it. It's because I did. And so I did that for over a decade and did what was expected of me. And I was very good at showing up for others. And I hope anyway, that as some of you are listening to this, that it feels a little bit familiar, because I think many of us, especially as women, we've been conditioned for years to, we play multiple roles on any given day, that our needs are just not as important as that of the others in our lives. And we sometimes feel guilty about putting ourselves first. It was sort of from all of that happened to me that I sort of came to some conclusions, because I had a lot of time. I had a lot of quiet time to reflect in a way I had never had, because I told you guys, I did the path, right? Came out of university, went straight into a job, hustle, tick, 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 accomplishment. And I don't think I'd ever really paused like that in my life. So in that moment, I sort of got to a point where I was like, look, self-care is really not just about wanting to survive, that we should want to thrive, we should want to do well. And everything, with all the stress that we've normalized, the real antidote for that is self-care, properly looking after ourselves. And so there are two things that I use as my guiding light in everything I do. And that sort of helps you to understand why LBB exists. The first is that if I'm ever in doubt, absolutely slow down and listen to what you need. Then the second one is really finding those moments for balance wherever you can, where you can find your pleasure. Because the reality is that stress is almost unavoidable. And so it's about interjecting those moments of self-care. So if you even look in our collection, Flight Mode, which is a mood rescue oil, it's a blend of essential oils. Even if all you have is 1 second, you smell it, it transports you to that place. And that might be all it takes to turn a shitty mood into a better one. And actually, that's also the reason it has its name, Mood Rescue, because that's what for the longest time it did for me. So anyway, just to wrap this whole thing up, it was while realizing that, look, our emotional well-being, when I looked at my life as a banker and what actually I was doing without thinking about it, was that our emotional well-being and how we feel on any given day really plays an integral role in what makes us thrive and feel confident. And when I look at women, I'm still ambitious. I paused, I've reset my life and refocused myself. But all of us, when I look at my life, my sisters, my friends, many with kids, all of us are juggling a myriad of things in both our work and our personal lives. And that's when I realized what sort of LBB had to be. So it's skincare, yes, but what our USP is, it's about first clean products that are easily adaptable to our needs, our life, our schedule, right? Whether you have only 1 minute and all you're going to do, if I bring up A Game, for example, whether you have only 1 minute, you're stuck on the moon, or you want a more indulgent routine. Our products are supposed to both enhance and look after you. So with A Game, just to give you another example of another product in our collection, it's a moisturizer, but it's in a stick format. It's full of really fantastic ingredients, but it's a stick. And that means that even over your makeup, you can apply it when you're feeling a bit parched, you can use it on your lips, but it's also a wonderful blend of oils. So I can spend the time, roll it all over myself, massage it into my skin, all those things that I do that absolutely make me feel better and restore balance to my day. All our products smell really nice. And so just to summarize, so that sort of captures the whole essence of LBB. And what I'm trying to build in this business. But yes.
Okay, so that was amazing. I think you've pretty much taken us through what inspired you to start the business, to turn your love for, holistic self-care, therapies and your passion for skincare into a business. That you've pretty much walked us through that. And it's great that you mentioned the projects. So the projects are all cruelty-free, they're vegan, and they're natural. So why do you think people should be conscious about the products they buy, particularly when it comes to skincare? You've touched on it, but can you educate us a bit on why it's so important?
Yeah, you're right. My products are PETA certified, cruelty-free, and vegan. The term natural, what I figured out now is that the term natural, everybody has their own different meanings. So I'm just going to tell you what natural means for me and for LBB. So the key things are natural and clean. And for me, that means that it's made without any harmful ingredients. We don't use any synthetic ingredients, even down to the fragrance that you smell in our products. They're all a blend of 100% natural essential oils. If you buy one of our products and you look at it, you'll see parfum. But the only reason you see parfum, I'm just going to bring this up, is because look at the size of my box. They're small. I can't write out the whole blend in there. So for me, natural and clean really means it's not going to harm our health. And just to take you back to another very quick story and why that really mattered to me. So very early on from moving to the UK, in fact, before that, I used to use relaxers. These are hair straighteners. It's a chemical. You apply it to your hair and it straightens your hair and you have sort of Beyonce-like shring hair. And I think I learned that that thing had formaldehyde, which is like a poison in it. The moment I found that out, I think that was the last day I ever relaxed my hair. And that was pretty early on before everybody became, or at least most Black people became natural. And so, but I think that started a cause of just me starting to audit what was going on my skin, right? You guys hear this all the time. The skin is like the biggest organ we have. It's half of your body. And so for me, that was like really core, and it was what I was doing in my life anyway. And you'll see, in fact, the series of events that we have following this. It's even when I have Lola Maja, who's speaking on the last Thursday, her focus is on helping us understand how to make healthy choices with makeup. Because I think skincare, there's a lot that's now better understood around skincare. With makeup, it's a little bit dicey. So it was the area I really wanted her to touch on. So if that's anything that's of interest to you, you should definitely sign up for that event. But let me go back to your question, Walia. But in our products, you won't find any of those things. And the other thing that I wanted us to really avoid, so parabens, sulfates, you guys, you probably know the list by now. But also in skincare, a lot of skincare products use chip fillers. You know, the biggest of all is water that is in there. And what you'll note is that in our products, we don't have very much right now, but none of them actually have any water in it. It's all pure. You're getting the best oils, the best ingredients. And I think the reason, so the other bits that natural for me was like a no-brainer is that actually these days, clean technology and skincare is so advanced. I'm a big fan of technology. It was put there to make our lives easier, so I embrace it. And with the advancements that have been made, there's actually no reason anymore to have to compromise on performance. So I'll give you an example. In this balm, in A-Game, we have in here ceramides and hyaluronic acid. And if any of you are skincare junkies, you know that hyaluronic acid is the thing, it's probably the most popular ingredient on the earth right now. It's the thing that gives you plump, glowing skin, especially once you cross your 30s. We don't produce as much. But what you won't find often is you see a lot of hyaluronic serums, which are water-based. You won't often see it in an oil. And so because I'd experimented lots, it was one of the things that for me, I was like, look, we need to make a really, really good oil moisturizer. And oils do one thing, but hyaluronic acid hydrates in a slightly different way. It pulls in moisture from the air. And so what you get in this simple, easy toss around stick is actually quite advanced skincare. We have ceramides also in there. So I'm just using that as an example so that you understand how far skincare can go. Then I think there's probably another thing that's worth noting also when you think about skincare, at least the way I understand and think about clean, natural skincare, is that the regulation in the EU actually protects us quite a lot. There's not much. So the EU has 1,300, I think, ingredients that are banned because they are harmful. I'm just going to contrast this to the US, where the number is like 30. In fact, I think I might have read today that one company had just gotten it up to 45. I'm not sure, but so that's a big gap. So I think just from going into your store and buying things that are made in the UK or in the EU is already giving you like a higher level of confidence. And I think that's also why organizations like EWG, if anyone's dialed in from the US, it's really helpful for understanding your products on the other side of the pond, right? Is that they have a list. I don't think a lot of British brands even bother anymore. If they're really big, they do, but it's probably helpful more for the US audience. And just to wrap this up, the final bit of what I think is important for my brand is we source sustainably. So I personally vetted all our suppliers and our ingredients. You remember I talked about pausing and taking time. So one of the things I also did was, in fact, I traveled exclusively in Africa during my time off. And I used that time to actually go back and get to meet some of the growers of some of the ingredients and oils that I had got to know through all my years of making bath salts and bath oils. So I traveled to Southern Africa and we use marula, which is a really good oil, which comes from there. And in fact, in my whole collection and range, because I love to travel and I love adventure, we've tried to highlight some really good, high-performing natural ingredients that you don't hear about all the time. So I was in Ghana, and I think I just did a blog recently actually on moringa and some of the benefits of moringa oil that people really don't understand. Moringa has a growth hormone that's called zeaxanthin that is so beautiful for natural cellular renewal. And then another oil that I think is just, I mean, these are all really high performing, but they're natural, right? Another ingredient that we have is Kahai, which comes from Colombia, and that oil is rich in retinol, a form of vitamin A. And so in this one balm that we've created, it's simple, but it's doing a lot for you. So anyway, I think I'll just pause there for now.
Okay. So we'll move on in a second, but thank you for clarifying this. One thing I've noticed about you is actually that you're very humble. So you're a scientist and you do things with an intensity, and you're very thorough. The research, the love, the R&D, the development that went into this really shows. So even though you've just told us now that people don't have to compromise and they can give us a natural, product without going to the artificial side, you've given us tips, because let's stress the fact that if we use certain things that should be banned or are harmful to us, it can actually impact our health quite it goes without saying, but there's quite a massive difference. We're living in a world where cancer and carcinogenic chemicals are rife. So thank you for that.
No,
it's very educational.
There's a lot of nonsense out there too. So yeah.
So if we stick to LBB, we're good, or at least European.
Well, I don't give you much choices, but it's complementary with a lot of the other stuff out there. So yes, absolutely. But buy good.
Okay, fantastic. So we can come back to products soon, but what I wanted is just to take things a bit wider in terms of during the early days of your business, what challenges did you face that other founders can, you know, benefit from, for example, and just also in your journey, what were the difficulties and challenges early on?
I'm laughing because I'm just like, how long is a piece of string when you talk about challenges? So let me see. With challenges, I think having come from the background I've come from, I worked as a banker and I managed a lot of like big complicated transactions. So getting into stuff that was relatively unknown to me and having to learn quite quickly was, I'm not saying I did it all every day, but I'd honed in that skill. So that's not what got me. What was really challenging, I'm going to start with the early days because COVID is obvious, right? What really challenged me when I got into this, because I got into it and I knew, I'm not going to swear, but nothing about beauty beyond what you probably know too, which is, yes, I know I can mix oil and sugar together and it's really nice. I knew about the ingredients and all of that side of things, but I knew nothing about the business side of even, so I have an idea for a product. How does it come out and get to you? No idea. Anyway, so everything that you see today was built from scratch, like just pure determination, research, saying lots of yeses, but that didn't faze me. Anyway, just coming back to the challenges. What I found the hardest coming to this is that as a founder in an industry where you don't really have any expertise or you don't have a network of trusted people you can even ask the questions, that making those judgment calls and the sheer volume of them that I have to make on any given day, especially in the beginning when everything was so friggin' new, was probably the hardest thing. You know, I had to choose an agency to work with, right? Because I have no team. And it's like, who do I go for? And in the process, I actually did go down some bad paths. But one thing that I think gives me a lot of confidence is I'm pretty mature and I will never ever stop asking questions. I'm so curious and I learn fast. So there's a lot that are like, okay, just chuck that down to experience. It's going to happen. And so since then, I've sort of really focused on finding the right networks to plug into, incubators, you know, even mentoring. It's so important. And one of the things so I found some of these industry style buddies. Not all of them are good, but I'm proactive. You know, the ones I got into, I went and looked for the CEO. Can I have a meeting with you? I would like to introduce myself way before my products came to market. And I just started, guys, I was just networking on acid. So anyway, but that's what and what's been good is that I think with entrepreneurs, starting your business is difficult. And so I found that a lot of founders who've been there have a lot of sympathy for that experience. So it's about finding the right people to ask. And what I've done, especially when it comes with beauty, is find like two groups, right? So I've made good relationships with beauty founders of brands that, you know, are pretty advanced. They're like well down the runway from me. A few of them are my mentors. We catch up regularly and, you know, you have questions like, I won't even go into it. Lots of questions. You saw my face there. I have
example.
Yes, lots. Lizarle's one. Sarah Brown of Pi Skincare is like, if she's listening, because I'm going to record this, she's amazing. She's such a generous human being. I think she's been like such a game changer for my business. Anyway, but as I continue, so there's sort of that group of experienced people. And then there's the other group, which is people like me. We're early stage, we're starting out. And just I'm plugged into a few networks like that where, you know, like when COVID happens, for example, I'm like scrambling around. So what help is there for my business? Bounce back loans, furlough, what the hell's all that? And you can start to ask with people who are at a similar point in their business as you, because the opportunities that were available to Sarah, for example, were just not even like, were not an option for me as such an early stage business. So that was one big challenge. And then I think the other challenge was really, it's about being seen, you know, distribution, contacting, getting in contact with your audience, especially in an industry like this where it's busy and cash speaks the loudest. And when I think about pre-COVID, yes, okay, there was a line, right? You were in a retail store, you had those outlets, or you were not, and then you had your digital native people, because brands like Glossier came out and showed that it was possible to actually just completely avoid retail and become like ridiculous. What is happening now, sort of post-COVID, with, you know, lockdown and everything, is that it's normalized people. So all these guys who didn't even spend time on social, who are big and have lots of money, are now all over social. And so that has pushed, that's made it even harder to get to those customers. You know, influencers, beauty PR, digital advertising, they're very like clicky. So it's going into that network has been a little bit tricky, but I think it's one of the things that I just say with this whole experience is I absolutely, absolutely love it. I think at the stage I got to in my life, you know, from all the stuff I told you guys earlier, I'd hit the point where I think I needed this sort of adventure. And challenging my comfort zone, like, my God, my comfort zone where? When I started, it was here, and now it's, I mean, like now I'm doing videos on friggin' Instagram. Like, it wasn't like, who's that person? So the one thing I would just leave you guys with is my whole MO in all of this, and I think you'll see it as a running theme if you ever talk to me, is whenever I'm in doubt, I slow down. And I said LBB is short for Life is Beautiful in Balance. But the other thing that I always think about LBB, I associate LBB with, is just less but better. I slow down and I simplify. I just choose a few things and I do it bloody well. And I try and aim for the things that are going to give me like this much of returns. Everything else, because as a founder, it's so easy to become a busy fool and do fuck up. Sorry, I don't know if we're swearing, but to do nothing.
Sorry.
I think it's what time is it? It's 8 p.m. right? It's what's past the water. And I think my customers are grown up.
Yeah, it's all good. So that's a nice philosophical takeaway that we've got in between, because in addition to Life is Beautiful and Balanced, which is LBB, you're saying less but better.
Focus on the quality.
These Nanaisms are wonderful and they're so great. So before I go into COVID and what you've done on a personal level, how you've coped with this period and how your business has coped, I just wanted to acknowledge the messages on the group chat. Thank you for all the messages. You mentioned your agents, like what agency you were going to pick as being one of the challenges in terms of decisions you had to make. Ngozi asked, what do you mean by agency and how old is your business?
Okay, very good question. So with the agency, Ngozi, I mean, so starting out my brand, for example, you have to design a logo. Oh my God, the logo, just that took like, if I tell you how much energy it is, I can't draw. What is branding? Because I understood, right? You recognize when you see Pantene or, you know, Hugo Boss or Chanel, those brands are the things that stick out. And I understood that that's what makes a business and that's what really creates the links. So how do I do branding? I had no idea. So there are agencies like that. That's what I meant. And also because you don't have any staff, full-time staff, I actually rely on a huge network of freelancers who come on. And so that's what I mean. It's those people who come on and help me from time to time, because you have to stay lean too. Your other question was, how long have I been? So LBB just turned 1. We launched at the end, it was actually towards the end of September last year. But the reality is, and what I'm measuring is when launched, and when I say launched, please don't get any grand ideas. The website opened and you could go and buy something. But the actual work that was involved was intensely, from when I decided I was going to go for LBB was about 2 years. And in those 2 years, what I spent the time doing was some of the research, looking for partners to work with. Bringing a product to market takes a lot of time, especially developing it, right? Finding the components, lots of R&D into what was going to come out, but also the other side was focus groups. And I think there are some people in the audience who were involved in the focus groups that I did, where I would come in, I had a black design. Ladies, would you buy this? That was when I learned that actually in skincare has to be white because that's what customers understand. Fragrance can be black, makeup can be black because it's exclusively for women. It's very well defined, but that white is the signal that you're for women. Sorry, let me not say white, but not black is probably the answer because I was looking at black packaging at the time. But it's quite interesting. Are there any other questions? I can't.
Yeah, so let me just start from the top. We've had a lot of great comments. Ronke Adeyemi said moisturizing is crucial. She remembers Nivea, Vaseline, and Astral. I'm sure some of them have things more on the paraben side though. But anyway, so Vivian knows about the M&A stress. Teresa says the pandemic has forced a pause in her life and she's had to prioritize self-care. Mm-hmm. Teresa, so let's talk about the pandemic. How have you coped with, the COVID? And, how has that forced you to adapt your business as well? So how has lockdown affected you and what ways have you taken care of yourself as well? Yeah.
With lockdown, the truth is that lockdown has been a bitch for everybody, right? And for a business like mine, the scariest thing was we'd only just started. Right? We'd only just started, and one of the major channels that I had for connecting with people was physical. I did events. I would turn up at law firms, banks, trying to connect with women. So, and also the other side was pre-lockdown. We very much, because it was just easier. Guys, look how long it took me to explain some of what's behind LBB. And it was just easier to sort of focus on the on-the-go and the travel side of it to explain how convenient it is. So when lockdown happened and I'd spent a lot of time, I was in very advanced conversations with some lounges. I had some pretty big conversations that were in the pipeline. And lockdown happened and all of that in the space of a few hours came to zero. So I was shattered. And then I'll take you back to what I did. It's just slow the hell down. I just put it down. I was watching Netflix on a daily basis and I'm just like, okay, I've got to sort out what's happening in my head and how we take it forward. So let's fast forward. In lockdown, what was really fortunate and what I learned from it was one of the biggest highlights of my business was the first sale that came in after lockdown happened. I was like, oh my God, people are still buying, thank God. And then it was then the continuation, that continued. Like I'm telling you, in lockdown, I had my best month that I've ever had of sales. So I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture. It's complicated. You heard some of it, which is that it's difficult to get attention in a crowded market where social is the only way you can connect with your audience. COVID isn't over, right? Because if I look at Takeoff Touchdown, my other product, one of the big campaigns that I had started, I was so excited. Well, I'm not even excited, but I was like, I'm so smart. I was like, people are going to be going back into the offices. The only way they can get there is probably, or not even the only way, the way a lot more people will be getting there is by running or cycling. Have a lot of offices thought about their shower facilities? Can it cope? Once this came into my head, I was like, oh my God, I started firing out emails to every office I knew, sending out samples of my sachets to them, saying, have you thought about a goodie bag? Is this? And so all of that, and I was getting traction. People were like, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. That's true. And this was an idea that actually came because I was speaking to a bank and somebody who I know within the bank said to me, oh, Nena, I think this will be good because I found myself in this position the other day. My customers are my savior, guys. But anyway, I'm going to fast forward. But my point is, then let's fast forward. Now look at where we are today. almost all of those conversations have frozen because everybody's like, we're not going back to the office anytime soon. It's like next year, mid next year is what people are planning for. So my takeaway from COVID, and I think it's the same for everybody, is protect yourself, first of all. It's constantly changing, so just be ready to be in continuation learning mode. There's an African thing, I can't come and kill myself. So the ones I can't do, I leave. COVID happened, right? We made plans and that was all thrown out in the water. So that's sort of the mindset I put to myself. But then let's go more practically what I do. What I have is I've always been very ritualistic. And so I always used to do it, but now it's almost religious. I start my day with quiet time. Like, I can't stress enough how important it is that most times we don't even realize anything is wrong with us. We can't see the way. We're caught in how we live our crazy lives day in, day out. And that quiet time to connect, it's in the morning. I listen to my daily Calm on the Calm app. I love it. There's this woman who comes up and she talks for a bit. You do your breath work. And in fact, if you follow LBB on social media, please, which you should, if you don't, on Instagram, LBB Skincare, you will see that I often post some of the quotes that are finished, that I get in the mornings, and I find it really inspirational. And that's a minimum of what I do. I put on my flight mode, I bath myself, I put it behind my ears, I put it on my wrists, I use it underneath my nose, and I just sit and breathe and relax and just think about, when I'm done with that, think about what I have to do for the day ahead. And guys, on the days I don't do that, I can tell you for sure that my day is worse than it is, than it usually is. And the other thing, I'm going to stop very quickly, but the other thing that I think, in fact, this was from a quote that I saw on one of those on the app the other day, and it's about how we prioritize our lives, right? And I think it was one from Stephen Covey, and it said, do not prioritize. The key is not to prioritize the things on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And so it's just coming back to the, when in doubt, I stop, I pause, and I just think, where am I going? What do I have to do?
Okay, so
what do I need right now? But yes.
So you have such a great attitude, coping skills, and just a philosophy that's really helpful, and it shows resilience. Yeah. You've spoken of how you pivoted, how you like to think out the box, and you just keep moving in a sort of, productive fashion. So somebody, Anu Akimbamidele, said, yes to the life change. Ngozi too saying that, it's amazing what we realize when we allow ourselves time to pause. Yeah. So Anu asked this question a while back that, how did you cope with the change in income, not having a predictable source of income, at least until you grew the business?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I don't know if anybody follows me on LinkedIn, but you'll see that I did this post about my daily gratitude. I recognize that I'm fortunate, okay? I spent 15 years, all of those years of Had Graft allowed me the opportunity to do this. I know there are lots of people who are stuck. I mean, I never ever take it lightly, by the way, that I was able to hit pause and go traveling to spend time with my family. That's something that I know it's not afforded to all, but that's how I started. And in fact, right now as a business, I'm self-funded. So I'm self-funded, it's all me. So when we talk about, this is my hard graft of how many years, when we talk about how do you continue, I don't have a trust fund. I don't have a husband who's gonna come and save me. So I absolutely have to keep going. And one thing that helps me when I think about it and when I get really stressed or anxious is that I know for a fact that my superpower is that confidence and determination that if there is a yes, I will find it. Guys, I think you really have to know me to understand this. So something like storage, for example, let me tell you how I found my storage. I basically left my house that day because I kept looking and the prices I'd seen were just stupid. I left my house that day and started to knock on doors of local businesses. And that's how I got my lead for the storage I found. So it's that willingness to just be able to put your arms in, and there's a fallback plan. I'm qualified to the hills. God forbid LBB fails. It won't be because I didn't try, but there's that backdrop. So touch wood, I'm not in that situation.
Thank you. Great answer in terms of practicality and relying on yourself, and obviously all the years of graft to be in this position. Incredible. So Ngozi asked, are your products available for purchase outside the UK yet? Are the products?
They are, Ngozi, they are. The only thing is that there is postage attached with that. So what I ask is that you just email me and let me know what you want, and I will send the cost of the postage. And that's how I usually do with my overseas customers. Although watch that space, we've just gone on Amazon. Again, thinking fast, man, because Amazon allows me to still sell products for everything you might hate about them. And so we're still only on Amazon in the UK and in the EU, but we're going to be on Amazon US pretty soon. So, but you can buy directly now and just pay for postage.
Fantastic, thank you. So moving on, let's see, there's been quite a few questions. So let's see, yeah, Vivian mentioned that the education piece is really crucial in terms of, I think she means the ingredients, that it tells a compelling story for the projects as an FYI. People are really loving the products. Panida said the same thing.
Oh, great.
Let's hear about the ingredients. So, okay, did you mention Pi?
Pi Skincare.
Yeah, did you contact those brands because you use them? Do you think it's easier to network today?
Okay, so I didn't reach out to her. I met her in a networking type session. So I spoke about, there are industry bodies, at least in the UK, that allow you to have that connectivity. The one that I probably worked the most with, in fact, I did a webinar with them at the start of lockdown because I needed some answers, is the CEW. And I think there's also a CEW in the US, but the CEW in the UK is an industry body. You become a member and it just improves your connectivity. So those are the ways that very simply you can sort of extend your reach, and it was helpful. I met Sarah there. And I can reach out. The staff there are incredible and really accessible. When you have a problem, at least I found in my case, they're good to me. So that's value.
So another question is, how do you incorporate all your products into a regular skincare routine? From Nana.
Sorry, who's that?
Nana M wanted to know, how do you incorporate all your products into a regular skincare routine?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go. So with A-Game is, I say it's a moisturizer, it's a serum and an oil in one. So it can be both, it can both simplify your routine if that's what you wanted to do. You would use it after you've washed your face, where you use moisturizer. If you're someone who uses lots of multiple products and you enjoy that process, it also complements that. So you would use this basically at the end of your moisturizing step because it contains oils. So it's kind of sealing in all the moisture just before you use SPF. So if you're using retinol, all of that stuff, it's really good to just sort of calm things down. But what's beautiful and that I really enjoy about it, by the way, it's been my primary moisturizer for about three years or so whilst we've been working on it, and I'm 40, y'all, so it's not a joke, but what I like, it's really versatile and multitasking. I use it on my lips, I use it underneath my eyes, I use it on my knuckles. I have one that sits at my desk when I'm working, I have one that sits in my bathroom obviously when I get ready, and I have one that sits by my bedside because before I go to bed at night I just use it for the whole thing. So that's A-Game, which is a moisturizing balm. Don't forget, we don't have many products. Flight Mode is a blend of wonderful essential oils. And this is just like I say it's liquid gold. It's my calming support. It goes with me everywhere. One hit, it smells fantastic, and it makes me feel better. It does have lots of other properties, but if you come for, and I think that's Nana, who I know. Nana is a professional essential oil expert, and she's doing a session with us because actually a lot of people worry about toxicity. There are lots of questions about essential oils usually, and we're afraid of it. Can I use it if I'm pregnant? Can I? And then the other thing also is, I think the properties of essential oils are really not well understood. So whenever I talk about Flight Mode, the easiest way for me to describe it is it smells well. It smells nice. It makes you feel better. You just think about the mood properties, but it does so much more. And in that session, we might be able to delve into that if that's your bag. And the final product I have is Takeoff Touchdown. That's the sheet I told you. It's an, I'm silly, I don't have a full one, but it's an extra large face and body cloth. The inspiration for this product was, it's really an on-the-go product, right? It's really thick, it's big, it's made from bamboo fibers. And the point is, when you don't have a shower or you don't have a sink, it's like, it's a spa-inspired all-in-one facial, cleanses, tones, exfoliates, it does a bunch of stuff, hydrates, and then it's also a cleansing towelette. And it's because it's individually wrapped, and it's individually wrapped because it helps keep our formula just more effective, and we don't have to put as many nasty preservatives in there as we would have to if it was sort of loose and it's on its own. So that's the collection, really.
Thank you for that.
You can buy them singly or together, and if you buy it together, it comes in a really cute, oh, it's with me. It comes in a really cute sort of carry-on that you can pop in your handbag too when you're on the go. So yeah.
Great. Okay, and Teresa D asked, if you had to recommend just one product in your range, which would it be? Do you have any favorites?
That is not fair. That's like asking someone who's your favorite child. Okay. So I will use COVID as the example. So Takeoff Touchdown is really an on-the-go product. So these days, I'm not reaching for it as much. But Flight Mode and A Game, I can't choose because those two are, they're essential. They're absolutely essentials. And that's what, you know, when you ask me about my vision for where this brand is going, it's about creating really essential products that are working extra hard, but still give you that soothing, pleasurable ritual, right? We want to feel better. I want to feel better even if I'm on the moon. I want to feel better when everybody's pulling me and all I have is 1 second. That's my goal. I think, what do I say? I use this now. I think it's now my tagline. It's about feeling confident, calm, and in control, because I think when we feel well, anything is possible. So yeah.
So you just talked about your goals, but what's next for LBB and what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
Oh my God, how big is the piece? Like so huge, but the honest truth is we've just started. So right now it's about expanding our reach, you know, getting into more places where our customers can access us. And it's also about, you know, being innovative. Part of the reason I got into this is a love for the development side of it. So there are some exciting ideas kicking, and I'm looking forward to seeing those come out, and we continue to grow. That's my wish.
So let's just take a step back and I'm going to quote you now. You mentioned that your brand is a unicorn, being a universal brand owned by a Black female entrepreneur. Now, what does that mean, and why are there not more, you know, entrepreneurs like you, and how can the industry address this?
Yeah. So that was a question I got, which is interesting. But the reason I say this is, so just to give you guys a little bit of context. So I was coming into this beauty space, I was completely colorblind. And since having been here, I haven't been more aware of the color of my skin as I have been since starting this. And to help you understand, it will sound strange because I'm coming from the investment banking background where I was probably one of less than a handful of people in an organization that had a headcount in thousands. So in percentage terms, it's a rounding error. It doesn't even count. So so for me to say that when I was such a minority is strange. But where this is coming from is, I think way back when we first launched, somebody asked me how I thought I could sell products to white people. And I sort of dismissed the question at the time because I was like, what are you talking about? I'm creating a brand. It's all about inclusivity. In fact, my products are unisex also. It's for everybody. It's, you know, why would I want to shrink the market opportunity? I live in the UK where it's very mixed. Why would I want to like only carve out just a small part? I want to make money too, please. So anyway, so that I dismissed, but then the question kept coming back in lots of different ways. So it would come in from probably a white person. It would come in the form of, are your products made for me? Is it ethnic? And I'm like, yeah, it's skincare, it's moisturizer, just, yeah, just use it. And then I would put that, but it would come frequently. Then on the other side, from Black people, the questions I would get would sort of be like, Nena, why aren't you playing to your strengths? You're a Black woman, talk to Black people. And I was like, okay. And even on a more extreme area was, I've actually had, and not just once, which is why I reference it, is I've had someone ask me, a Black person, why I was excluding Black people. So I sort of went like, oh, am I? So when you hear questions like this, especially when you're not very experienced in the industry, I was like, oh my God, you know, very early on, I was really nervous, and I was like, I don't want to get this wrong. It's just an awkward position to be in, because you want to toe the right line, right? You're like, I want people to buy my products. I want people to like it. It's not about race. It's about beautiful products. Let's use it in that way. And I think the only thing I'll say back is that the honest truth is that all of this, I really hope someone's listening to me and saying that, oh, that's all nonsense, it's bullshit. Because it's what I completely agree. And it's the stance I've got into. I'm just like, whatever, you know, it's noise. The people who need to know understand. But I wouldn't have to be in this position where, because my fear is, oh my God, how many people are dismissing my product before they've even tried it because they've made an assumption. And that's worrying, right? When you're trying to grow your business, losing business from nothing directly that you're doing. So when I think about representation and the reason it matters, and I want to see more Black people selling products to everybody, is that the more of us that do it, the less of a thing it is, right? And it was really sad, because I read this. I know another founder who's in the US, very similar background to me, and she was raising money. She was raising money from investors, and an investor actually challenged her and said, I don't buy it. I don't believe that you can sell to white people. And I was just like, oh my God, is that what I have ahead of me? So it's nuanced, but it was something I wasn't expecting. And I think that definitely has to change. And at least I'm doing my part in the journey and doing it. And I think there are a few others out there, but there need to be more of us.
Okay, thank you for that. Amazing. So the next question is, one piece of wisdom, or what's one piece of wisdom or a golden nugget that you could, you would put on a billboard or just share with everyone today?
Okay, you know what I'm going to say, right? Life is beautiful in balance. Like, if ever in doubt, that's the center. Everything in balance, absolutely.
Awesome, fantastic. And so we're heading towards the end of the talk today, and I just wanted to say, what have been your highlights since you started, really quickly?
Oh God, everything. When a business is so new, everything is a new moment. The first person that ordered from me, let me go through the big ones. So A Game was voted Indie Best by The Independent. The Independent is a UK magazine, and they voted it as the top pick of skincare products that would revive luster, dehydrated and hungover skin. And that was a really important endorsement. And it was important because actually it was a selection. They voted us as best from like a list of heavyweights. I'm talking about Goop, Face Gym, Kate Somerville, Murad, Elemis, SkinCeuticals. I was sort of like, oh, thank you. I think I've arrived. So that was a huge moment. Then the second one, probably that's huge, was on our website on LBB. We have a subscription model. So you save about £5 if you go for the subscription. And I put it there as a way to get, for regulars to not have to worry about when next they need to re-up on products. But what typically happens with that, and I was told before I put it, is that people game it, right? Because you can go in, you can buy, you can cancel. And so when I started to see repeat orders on our subscription, I was like, oh my God, people actually really like it. And it's also really important, not just for making me feel better, but when you're trying to build a business, you need the recurring income. That is what starts to turn your thing, which is because people like newness, right? There's a big rush of serotonin that you get when you get something new. But it doesn't tell you that they'll keep coming back. So that recurring income is so important in measuring whether your business is here to stay or not. So it was a big moment for me.
Okay.
Yeah, those are probably.
Anything else?
I think I already mentioned the other one, which is when I got a sale in lockdown, I was like, hallelujah.
Amazing. And speaking of which, a lot of people on the chat have, said great things about the project. Panida says that, gotta say, we all love your A game. A lot of people have said it. Finding a brand that is luxurious and clean and natural and effective is golden. Ngozi loves the pouch. A lot of people have commented on A game.
Oh, yeah, that's the
and all the other products. And so as we're wrapping up, because a lot of people probably have to go in a minute, where can we connect with you to find out more?
Fantastic. So we're online, it's www.lbbskin.com. I would say, so guys, I hope you've caught it, but the lineup that I've put together, it's fantastic. Like each of those women is extra special. And it's, when I said again, why am I doing this? It's not just about products. My mission genuinely is to help us prioritize self-care by making it really easy. So I share a lot of nuggets in our newsletters, and you can sign up to our newsletters. If you hover on our website for I think it's 5 seconds, it comes up. If you sign up to those, that's where any new news, any insights go to first. So that's one way to reach. The other way is on social media. We're on Instagram, it's LBB Skincare. On Facebook, it's the same thing. And on LinkedIn, actually, LinkedIn is a place, I talk differently, it's corporate on LinkedIn. And me personally, the best place to get hold of me is on LinkedIn. And you can also email info@lbbskin. Usually I'm on the end of it, but I twin on that account with somebody else. But yes, that's where to find us. In terms of buying products, you can buy products on lbbskin.com. That's where I make the most money. But I'm actually pushing products to Amazon, because Amazon is a machine. So if that's ever going to become a sustainable business for me, I would like people to buy from there. So it's on Amazon UK. I've recently just stopped in Westroom Aesthetics. Westroom Aesthetics is owned by a fantastic, in fact, Deja is doing the next session next Wednesday. She's an esthetician, she's like a skincare guru, and she's talking about important stuff. What you need, when do you need to start getting serious? When you've stopped riding the gene wave, right? And so skincare in your 30s and 40s. That's a session not to miss if you're a skincare person. In fact, just anybody, full stop. And so that's Westroom Aesthetics. I'm also on wolfandbadger.com and an independent retailer, Psychology. But yeah.
Okay, so what I would say is that, Nana, if you can maybe type that in the chat for people.
Oh yeah.
It's been a fantastic session. You've pretty much covered all of the questions that I had for you today. There's been amazing comments. Evelyn also said she loves LBB. A game is a must-have. And Ngozi is great to the Amazon. We've had some great interaction today. I've typed a lot of the information as to how to find you there. Westroom and all that can also go in the chat. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Do you have any other questions for Nana? Feel free to type it in the chat or even on mute.
Let me just say a huge thank you to everybody who's come on. I don't know how many, to be honest, I wasn't sure who was going to turn up. I was like, it's fine, I'll talk into the screen if it's just me. So thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me that you were just turned up to listen to me just chat. Have a lovely evening, and please sign up for all the rest. Tell your friends. It's going to be an awesome lineup. Yeah. Bye-bye, and thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Great work, Nana. Very interesting.
Cheers.
Very well done. Bye.
Congratulations.